So maybe we'll get a little good news. You never know. We're going to look for that. And we'll catch you in about 5 minutes. Thanks for being here, and be sure you come back.
NPR podcasts are now available on every platform. Check out all our shows at npr.org/podcasts. That's npr.org/podcasts.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. President Trump says the U.S. will delay increasing tariffs on Chinese imports because of what he calls substantial progress made in ongoing U.S.-China trade talks. Those tariffs were scheduled to go into effect this Friday, raising taxes on Chinese imports from 10% to 25%. Trump says the two sides are making headway on important structural issues, including intellectual property protection, technology transfer, currency, and agriculture. Trump also says if this progress continues, he and Chinese President Xi Jinping would meet in a summit at Trump's Florida estate. Virginia's Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax used the final day of the state legislative session to directly address two allegations of sexual assault, saying there had been a rush to judgment in his case that he compared to lynchings in past eras. Ben Pavier of member station WCVE reports.
Fairfax presided over Virginia's Senate without ever mentioning the allegations until now. In an unexpected speech minutes before the end of this year's legislative session, Fairfax reaffirmed his innocence and tied the allegations to Virginia's history of lynchings.
If we go backwards and we rush to judgment and we allow for political lynchings without any due process, any facts, any evidence being heard, then I think we do a disservice to this very body in which we all serve.
Republican House Majority Leader Todd Gilbert said Fairfax was entitled to due process, but called the lieutenant governor's comments inappropriate. Republicans in the lower chamber say they'll convene a meeting and invite the two alleged victims to give testimony. Fairfax and most Democrats accuse Republicans of trying to politicize the process and say the matter is best left to local law enforcement. For NPR News, I'm Ben Pavier in Richmond.
Pope Francis wrapped up an unprecedented gathering of Roman Catholic Church leaders at the Vatican today, vowing concrete action to end child sex abuse by clergy. Peter Isley is a clergy sexual abuse survivor.
There's nothing in his remarks about releasing documents that demonstrate the truth of how they are and have been covering up child sex crimes.
Isley is also a founding member of the group Ending Clergy Abuse. Saudi Arabia has named a princess as its next ambassador, and PR Shannon Van Zandt has more.
Princess Rima bin Bandar's appointment comes amid deteriorating relations between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia over the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has pushed for some reforms, calling for a diversified economy and greater freedoms for women, including the right to drive. He has also ordered the arrest and alleged torture of many women's rights activists. Princess Rima is known as an advocate for women's rights and breast cancer survivors. She is the daughter of Saudi Arabia's former ambassador to the U.S., spent part of her childhood living in Washington, D.C., and attended George Washington University.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington. No one will be hosting the Academy Awards ceremony this evening in Los Angeles, but Oscars will still be handed out. For the first time, a superhero movie, Black Panther, is nominated for Best Picture. As for the top acting awards, well, here's NPR's Andrew Limbong.
Glenn Close's performance as her husband's ghostwriter in The Wife is up for Best Actress.
I don't like to be lectured to. I'm not a child.
Also in contention, Yalitza Aparicio for Roma, Olivia Colman for The Favorite, Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me, and singer Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born.
Every single person that I've come in contact with in the music industry has told me that my nose is too big and that I won't make it.
Speaking of singers, Rami Malek is nominated for playing Freddie Mercury in the biopic Bohemian Rhapsody. He's up against Christian Bale for Vice, Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, Viggo Mortensen for Green Book, and Willem Dafoe for his role in At Eternity's Gate. Andrew Limbong, NPR News.
Hawaii's Big Island is getting bigger, thanks to recent volcanic eruptions. The U.S. Geological Survey shows Kilauea's newest lava flow of molten rock added as much as 180 feet to parts of the island last year. And in some cases, that new land was previously ocean. It all adds up to nearly 900 acres of new land where the molten rock flowed offshore. But those lava flows also destroyed everything in its path, including more than 700 homes. Scientists say they will be studying the lava flow and eruptions for years. I'm Janine Herbst, NPR News in Washington.
Support for this NPR podcast and the following message come from Lexus, the first ever Lexus UX crossover, available in hybrid all-wheel drive, inspired by architecture and shaped by street corners. The city's smart Lexus UX, crafted to conquer the new frontier. Experience amazing.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. And we are back. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama, and thank you for doing so. This is Fate Mag Radio, and I am Kat Hobson, your host, with my guest, Denniss Nappi. And we are having such interesting thought processes going through here. Denniss, thank you for being here, and I'm excited to have you as my guest. So I just think this has been fun so far. I can't believe we've already gone through an hour.
Cat, time flies when you're having fun. I'm thrilled to be here. I've wanted to come on the show for a while, so I'm glad we're finally able to make it happen.
Me too.
Hopefully my voice sticks around. It's fading on me, but we'll do the best we can.
Well, we will. And you know what? I am just thrilled you're here. And as long as your voice holds out, I'm happy. I just hope it's not too uncomfortable.
Nope. I was in the military. We used to scream a lot and not have a voice at all, so I'm used to it.
Well, then if you're in the military, you know to take zinc, too.
That's right. But I hope it's not too painful on your listeners' ears. So,
of course,
Ray said we were okay, so we're good.
I have the utmost confidence, but because your information is so good.
Thank you.
And we were talking about trying to protect yourself from negative energy, recognize what's being flowed at you, so that you can kind of shield yourself and maintain what you are as you're going through this, because we have 2 years coming up, a little less than 2 years, of screaming from the rafters everybody else is evil, wicked, nasty, and beats children and puppies, and and it's going to be ugly, and we're having to gird our loins kind of for this. And I don't know if girding our loins is actually right. Maybe grounding our souls and keeping ourselves protected in that way, and trying to make sure that we're putting positives out in the face of all of this that's going to be generally an onslaught.
Yeah, and the smears are already starting. I think that what's important is, like you said, to ground yourself and to remove yourself.
Yes.
I know these are topics we're passionate about, but they're the same topics: gun control, death penalty, abortion. The ones that are going to get people fired up. And we never solve anything, but they come up during the election years. Why? Because it's an emotional trigger.
Yes.
Well, why are they hitting those emotions? Because they make us vulnerable, and they give a desired output, and they allow us to be manipulated. Well, you vote for him and you're not going to get what you want. Well, you're really not going to get what you want if you vote for anybody, in my opinion. My hope is that there's a candidate out there who's going to help us, but it's a game. It's a cycle. We're voting for two sides of the same coin, in my opinion.
I agree.
I caught a lot of flack during the last election, and I don't want to get political, but I couldn't vote. I went to vote, and I couldn't cast my vote because I just didn't want to be contributing to either choice that was there. And I had a really tough time about it. And I had people stop talking to me over it because they were so anti-Trump. They said, well, by not voting, you threw it away, so you basically voted for Trump. So I'm like, really? Okay. But I think with what's coming up in the future election, with these organizations that are putting out the negativity, and then you have the fake news epidemic. What scares me is I read an article talking about what AI is going to be used for. And you have these AIs and these algorithms, and I'm not a computer tech guy, so I'm speaking based on the limited things I've read. But AI is able to pull all this metadata, all the searches that you do, all the things that you like, all the stories that you share. And it has a profile of you, what you like, what you dislike, what scares you, what excites you. And now they're coming up with AI that can create fake news tailored to your likes and dislikes and fears. Fake news is already a scary thing with these organizations putting stuff out, but now it's able to generate, from what I read, millions of stories based on everybody's metadata. So you're going to have your own personal trigger point stories coming across your feed. You're not going to know if they're legit or not. The age of information has become the age of confusion.
Well, you know what? It's already happening. I mean,
Yeah.
If you doubt that this is going to be a reality, if you haven't already noticed it, try saying that, I'm worried about my blood pressure around any of your computer devices.
Yep.
Not computer devices, but smartphones, iPads, your MacBook, your HP, whatever. And look at what's your junk, not just your Facebook stuff, although Facebook does it a lot faster, like within 10 minutes after your conversation. But
Right.
your email, just your regular email that is starting to send you things. Are you concerned about blood pressure? Well, you can do this. Or do you know what causes weight loss? We can do this. And da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
It's astounding. Astounding. They're very good.
Very good. I mean, and this is what Snowden warned us about. And then through WikiLeaks 2 years ago, I guess, one of their dumps of the CIA's files had the same thing. The CIA had hacked the iPhone before it came out of the factory. It was compromised, and it was doing the same thing. They're listening to us, but beyond that, it's these marketing apps that are turning on our microphones that we're scrolling through. Oh, I accept the terms. We're allowing access to our microphone because they're gathering this data about us to then sell us stuff. That's the simple stuff. That's the not as scary stuff. But I swear, over the summer, I really freaked out, and I stepped away from my phone for about a week because I had some thoughts in my head that I hadn't spoken about. I hadn't even written about them. I hadn't talked to anybody about, but they were very specific thoughts that I was having that week, and they were intense. They were weighing on me heavily. Didn't tell anybody about them, and I opened up Instagram, and there's 3 books, word for word, on the subject that I was thinking about. And that
Get
really,
out of town.
Yeah. And it could be a coincidence. I'm open to that. I get it. But it didn't feel like, it was word for word what was, some very personal stuff in my head. And there it was right there. Maybe there was some complex algorithm that was able to tell based on but I did not search for this. I did not type about it and look at anything related to it because I didn't want to create an electronic footprint of what I was thinking about. But it's not as far-fetched as it seems. Like, we think, oh, it's crazy. A phone can read your mind. We could have a complex algorithm that could make predictive guesses on what we may be thinking and feeling. I know that exists. But when you think of things in terms of electromagnetism, as I talked about earlier with heart math, we're constantly transmitting electromagnetic fields. Your heart transmits an electromagnetic field that then goes to your brain. That's what heart math tells us. And then your brain interprets that and says, oh, this feels like sadness. This feels like happiness. But that signal is also being sent outwards. Thoughts, there's electromagnetic frequencies. They have technology out now. You can put headphones in and they stimulate, your brain with electricity, electromagnetism, and it changes your mood. There's a device, I think they put it up to your head or to your throat, and it'll say what you're thinking because we're now getting the technology to read the thought patterns, the electromagnetism that's coming out. I'm not a scientist, I can't explain it, but if this is what's coming out publicly, if I'm finding this on mainstream sources now, what do they have in the private sector? What do they have that's classified? This stuff is there. This stuff is real. And not only are they able to take stuff out, but they have the ability to put stuff in. And that's why I was saying when you start paying attention to your thoughts and to your feelings, you have to ask yourself, Where's this coming from? Is this me? Is